Hello everyone, my name is Mohit and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing great. This is challenge number 14 of Solving SQL Challenges playlist, and in this video we will discuss a problem related to customer growth and retention trend analysis. And just to let you know that this is the upgraded version of challenge number 11. So if you have not watched that video yet, then I strongly encourage you to watch that video as well to have a better understanding about this problem statement. Okay. And the question which I'm going to discuss for this statement was said by one of our subscriber, which he faced during one of the interview. So I'll be discussing same question via this topic. Okay. So first let us understand the problem statement. We are already given orders table where we have detail about orders given by a customer. So in this table we have order ID, order date, customer ID, and respective order amount. Okay. And in this order table, we are given order details related to three different date, that is 10th of April, 11th of April, and 12th of April. So for these three dates in output, we have to find number of new customers and number of old customers. Okay. So if you have been watching my videos in series, then you can find that in challenge number 11, we discussed similar problem statement where we tried to find out number of new customers. Okay, and this problem statement is basically upgraded version of that one. So there also we discussed two method. Here also we will discuss two method to get the required output. Okay, so if you observe this output table for 10th of April, the number of new customers are 3 and number of old customer is 0. So since 10th of April is the first date, so all the customer who have done any kind of transactions will be treated as new customers. Okay. And in this case, we have three different customers. So that's why number of new customer is 3 and there will not be any old customers. Okay. For 10th of April. Now moving on to 11th April, using this customer ID column, we can verify that those customers who have already done transactions on 10th of April will be considered as old customer, correct? And those customer who have done transaction first time on 11th of April, those customer can be considered as new customers. Okay, so you can check this input data and you can verify. There also you will observe that for 11th of April we have two new customers and three customers are old customers. Okay, same you can verify for 12th of April. Okay, so how we can achieve this using SQL query? Let us understand. And for that, let me switch to SSMS. Here we are already given orders table. So let me select it first. Select star from order. Okay, this is the exact data what we have mentioned in our slide. Now first I'll discuss method 1 in order to achieve our output. Method 1. Before we proceed for writing SQL query, first let us understand the logic and approach which we will be implementing using this method. Okay, so first question is how we can assume or how we can consider any customer as a new customer or old customer. So if you see for 10th of April, we have three different transactions, right? And these are the three different customers. And since this is the first date, we can consider these three customers as new customers. So number of new customer would be 3 and number of old customer would be 0. Now coming on to next date, that is 11th of April. So here we have five different transactions on 11th April and these are the details of customer ID. So if you observe carefully, this customer ID 3 who has done transaction on 11th of April is basically a old customer. Why? Because for this customer ID, we already have a transaction on 10th of April, which is previous date, right? That means this particular customer ID has already done a transaction. So similarly, you can verify for other customer ID for 11th of April. And those customer ID who has already done transaction for the date before 11th of April, which is current date, then that particular customer ID will be considered as old customer, otherwise new customer. Okay. So we'll follow this approach only in method 1. So let us proceed. First I'll do select star from orders, and then I'll create another column where I'll write case when this customer ID in. Now here I'll write select customer ID from. I'll select every customer ID. In fact, I'll write distinct customer ID from this orders table where order date is less than. Let me alias this table as O. Then I can write O dot order date. Okay. So this query, what we have written here, will basically get you all the distinct customer ID for the date which are less than the order date in which you are currently present. So let's say currently I'm at this row. So for order date less than 11th of April, it will go and get all the distinct customer ID. Okay. And if those list of customer ID matches with customer ID present in current row, then 0, else 1, and as is new customer. Okay. So basically we are creating is new customer flag as a new column where we will populate either 0 or 1 based on this condition. Okay. So here we will check whether the customer ID for current row, let's say you are at this row, so whether this customer ID is present in the result set of this subquery or not. And if it is present here, that means this particular customer ID has already done a transaction before this date. Okay, so let me select it. See, we have created a new flag, and in every row you can verify where the flag value is 1, that particular customer will be a new customer, and where flag value is 0, that customer will be an old customer for that particular order date. Okay, so let us verify this once. So for this date, that is 10th of April, these three customers are like new customer because this is first date, right? So the flag value are 1 for every customer ID. Now moving on to 11th of April, and for customer ID 3, flag value is 0, which means this customer ID must have done a transaction before this date. And by observing this data, we can say that yes, on 10th of April, customer ID 3 has already done a transaction. So in our current row, this customer ID for this particular date is an old customer. Okay. So similarly, you can verify for other row. Now our aim is we have to find number of old customer and number of new customer for each order date. That is for 10th of April, for 11th of April, and for 12th of April. Now let us observe this column and this column. So for 10th of April, if we add all those values which are present in this column, then for this particular date, we can get number of new customer, right? Similarly, for 11th of April, if we add these five values which are present in this column, it will again result you number of new customer for this date. Okay. So basically for every date, if you want to find out number of new customer, then we just need to add values present in this column for every date. Okay. So let us write query for this one. So I'll write select order date. This time I'll select specific column which is required in output. Okay. So if you see our slide, first column is order date, second is new customer, that is number of new customer for this date. Okay. So for new customer, what we have discussed, we will just add the values present in this column, and we will name this column as new underscore customer. Okay. Now to get number of old customer for every date, what we will do, let's say for this 11th of April, we want number of old customer. So in this case here it is 3, right? Number of old customer are 3 because the value is 0 for these 3 customers, right? So what we will do, we will find total number of distinct customer ID present for this particular date. And if we subtract number of new customer from that total, then we will get number of old customers. Okay. So we will do count of this same column, and then we need to subtract this value, which is new customer count, and this will result into number of old customers. So we will name this column as old customers. Okay, so these three columns are required: order date, new customer, and old customer. And what is the source table? From which table we will get data? We will use this table. Okay, so I'll alias this table as A. Okay, and since we are using this aggregate function, so we have to use group by for non-aggregated column, right? So I'll write group by A dot order date. Okay, now let me run it. See, we got the exact data what was present in output. Okay, and we can verify this query from here also. So this is the query for method 1, and this is the output what we are getting, right? For every order date we are getting number of new customers and number of old customer, correct? Now let us discuss method 2 for achieving same result. So I'll write method 2. So first let me select this order table. Let us first discuss the approach for method 2. Now in method 2, what we will do, we will just find out the count for every customer ID based on order by date. And let's say we are at this row, then of course the count of customer ID 1 would be 2 at this row. Why? Because at row number 1, customer ID 1 has already done a transaction here. So we already have a data for customer ID 1. Got it? So whenever we check the occurrence of customer ID 1 for this date, we will get 2. Similarly, at this row for order date as 12th of April, the occurrence of customer ID would come as 3. Okay. So based on that count, we can filter out and we can find number of old and number of new customers. So this is the idea. So let us implement this using query. Then you will get much better idea. Okay. So here I'll write select star from orders, and then again I'll create a new column where I'll write count of what? Count of customer ID. And how we have to count? We have to create window, right? Over partition by. So basically for each customer ID, we have to create window, right? And in that window, based on order by date, that means based on increasing date, I'll capture the frequency or occurrence of customer ID. So for first row it would be 1, for second row it would be 2, for third row it would be 3. Okay. So I'll write over partition by customer ID, and how we have to count? Based on order by order date, correct? So I'll write order by order date, and by default here it is ascending, but still let me write ascending ASC. So it will basically give me count or occurrence of every customer ID based on order by this column. Okay. So let me name this column as count or CNT. Now let me run it. Let me do one thing. Let me do order by order date column, order by order date. Okay. Now let us focus for customer ID 1. So here if you observe, for order date as 10th of April, which is first date, count is 1. And for order date 11th of April, count is 2. For order date 12th of April, count is 3 for customer ID 1. Okay. So similarly, you can verify for other customer ID. And on this date, for customer ID 1, we can simply check this count column. And based on this value, we can say whether this customer ID is a new customer or old customer. And here we can easily say that this customer ID is a new customer because count is 2, which implies this particular customer ID has already done a transaction on some previous date which is less than this current date, right? And because of that, on this date for customer ID 1 count was 1, and that's why for this date we got count as 2. So we can say that this customer ID on this date is a old customer. Okay, so let us handle this same logic using query. Now again, I'll write only selected column, order date. Then I'll write other column, and from which table we have to get this data? From this table, and I'll name this table as A. Okay. Now I'll create second column for number of new customer ID. And for that, what we have decided, for every order date, we will just check the value of this count column. And whenever the value is equal to 1, we can count those number of ones for that particular date, and we can get number of new customers. So for this 11th of April, there are two customers whose count is 1 in this column. So these two customers are new customer, right? So here we will write case 1 count equals 1, then simply return me count value which is equal to 1, else return me 0. Then I'll end this. Now this will give me every customer with count value equal to 1, correct? Now I'll do what? I'll just sum up those values. So in this case, if you see, we need to sum these value, right? This one and this one. So we will sum these values, and the result what we will get will become a new column, that is new customer. Okay. And since we are performing this aggregate function, so non-aggregated columns should be in group by. So we have to write group by a dot order date. Okay. Now we need to create third column for old customers. So we will write similar query. Let me copy this one. Just a small change here. Here we will not check value equal to 1. We will check all the customer with count greater than 1. Then only those customer will behave as old customer. So we will write count greater than 1. And whenever count greater than 1, return me 1, else 0. And all those 1 I'll just add, and that will become as number of old customers. Okay. Now let me run it. Okay, so here I missed one bracket. Here also we need to give one bracket. And there was another issue, order by. Okay, so since this is a subquery, we cannot use this order by. So let me comment it. Let me use this outside this query. So I'll write a dot order date. Okay, now let me select it. Okay, invalid column name 0. Okay, so here instead of 0, I wrote O. So let me write 0. Let me write 0. Now let me run it. Great. See, we got exactly the same result what we got in method 1, and this result is also matching with our expected output. Okay, so for every date we got number of new customer and number of old customers using method 2. Okay, so if we go back to slide, the same query we have written in method 2, correct? And this is the exact output what we are getting, which is of course same as method 1. Okay, So in this way, we have discussed two method, or better to say two approach in order to get required output. Okay. Okay, then that's it guys for this video. Thank you so much for watching it. If you have enjoyed this content, then please don't forget to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And please make sure to hit the bell icon to receive the notifications about the new video update. We will meet in our next video with a new challenge. So please stay tuned. Till then, take care and goodbye.